What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. This is going to be one of those videos where I just kind of speak what's on my mind a little bit, just some topics that have kind of come to the forefront in the last, well, it's been going on for a while, but really just wanted to talk about a few things I've seen on Facebook and comments in my comment section and in other people's comment sections. It's about this 50,000 miles of TNT training that keeps coming up. You know, it seems like some people are a little upset about doing the 50,000 miles. And to some degree, you know what, if you came in under the premise that it was 30,000 miles and it kind of got switched while you were in the process, I could maybe understand that. But at some point, the 50,000 miles was out there well before some of these newer people have even came to Prime. Now, my thoughts on the 50,000, you know, I'm beating a dead horse. You guys are with me. You already know I was on my trainer's truck from April to November. And had I known that my trainer was gonna leave Prime to try to do his own thing in the music industry, I probably wouldn't have stayed on that long. I stayed on a little bit longer than I would have because I didn't want to start a business at the end of the year or even in the middle of the year. So I was just going to stay on till January. He ended up wanting to do his thing, so I got off in November, took off a month or close to a month, came in and upgraded in December of 2019. So I know about being on a truck a long time, and one thing I can tell you is, regardless of what you think about it, you know, there's no such thing as being overtrained. It's like impossible. Now, you may not be, 50,000 miles with the wrong trainer that's not necessarily training you, or if there's some kind of turmoil, you know, that's not a good deal. But if you're really being trained, 50,000 miles, well, you're never, it's impossible to learn everything in 30,000 or even 50,000. So really what you're saying to yourself is, I just want to get out there and figure it out myself. So, and that's what, you know, most people are capable of doing that. And I really don't want to talk about it so much from a trainee standpoint or solely from a trainee standpoint. I want to talk about it from a trainer standpoint as well, because I've heard a few misconceptions where people are saying that, you know, trainers want to keep trainees on the truck for 50,000 miles so they can make more money, or, you know, whatever it is. And I'll be honest with you, I've had these conversations with a lot of people that are real trainers. You know, they pick up students like, you know, they pick them up, knock them down, and pick up another one and keep on going like that. And even those people are just saying that, well, let me just tell you what my thoughts are first. 50,000 miles, and this is from a trainer or a student, is a long time to keep focus. And the 50,000 miles, you know, while some people that are in training are saying that trainers are just wanting to do it, you know, so they can keep somebody on their truck, you know, that's really not the case either. Really, one of the main reasons why I'm like hesitant on training again is the 50,000 miles. And the reason for it is kind of what I had mentioned earlier. Trying to keep a trainee's focus for 50,000 miles, I think, can be a bit of a task. You know, it was bad enough when it was 30,000 miles, and then right at 27,000 miles, you know, you see like a little bit of slip in focus, especially if you got over the 30,000. You know, then that was definitely happening, and that really wasn't a good position for anybody to be in. You know, a lot of times they're wanting to get off because they have maybe haven't been home in a while, and I'm wanting them to get off because I haven't been home in a while. So the 50,000 miles, I don't think is necessarily anything that a lot of trainers might not care either way, but I think a lot of them actually are with me that 50,000 miles is a long time to spend with the student, even though you can't train everything in 50,000 miles. In 50,000 miles, every situation is not going to come up. Or even, maybe even if you were to really train, like, I spent so much time on my trainer's truck that almost everything did come up in that span. And I know I'm going to be kind of talking in circles because things keep coming up in my head. This, one of the issues with the 50,000 miles is what happens if the trainer wants to go on home time, things like that. Or even if the student wants to go on home time. That becomes an issue at 50,000 miles. At 30,000 miles, I could just knock them out. Just run through 30,000 miles, get them, have them go home or terminal, whatever happens after the 30,000 miles, and it's all good. 50,000 miles, you do have to start thinking about, getting them home just for their own sanity, and then you making it home as well. And part of it is, the elephant in the room is what happens with the trainee's pay when the trainer goes home and all this kind of stuff. And if the trainee says, I want to stay available for dispatch, what happens with all that? It was easier when I did it with my trainer, because he took off about every 45 days and he would go home for a week, and then it would make me be home for about 11 days, but I had no expectation of getting paid during that time. So whether anybody thinks it's too much time, not enough time, in the scheme of things, what's 50,000 miles? I mean, I haven't been teaming in a while, so I don't know what that team freight's looking like or anything like that. A couple people I talked to are knocking it out, so I don't know. But, let's just say you're doing, let's say a modest 5,000 a week, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you're talking about 10 weeks. So 2.5 months in the scheme of life or in a trucking career in general, that is not a lot of time. It's like, I don't really see a lot of people that are going to college that are just like, damn, 4 years is just too damn much. My son is trying to become an electrician. The amount of time that it's taken him to do that and go through his apprenticeship and everything like that, if he had the same attitude that some people have about doing 2.5 months of training, he would have quit and given up a long time ago and done something else. And I'm not saying don't be frustrated about it. That's not my point. My point is, it's not that much time if you really think about it. It is a lot of time doing that, trying to do that straight, or if you're not with the right trainer, and those are variables that are kind of unpredictable until you're in them. I've been lucky. I've had beasts as students. I have not had one bad one out of the bunch. None of them were out there trying to, be like, I'm not driving, or I'm only driving this or that. It was like, you know what? Me and my people on my truck were 10.5 hour shift runners. And that's kind of how we did it. No complaints from them. Now, I did see sometimes there was, some lack of focus. And sometimes that was, like I said, it was even on my part. I'm sure that if my second to last trainee, Eric, is watching this video, he can think of a classic time when I'd lost focus when we were out in Streetsboro, Ohio, on a Nestle load. Happens. But I'm just trying to let people that are in training understand that it's not just you that are feeling the pain of those miles. You know, like I said, 50,000, that's a long time to train somebody. It's actually a barrier to entry for me. That's a reason why I'm not considering training right now. Not that there's a shortage of trainers, so it doesn't really matter, but that's a reason why I would not do it right now, or I would be hesitant to do it right now. That and a few other things, but mainly that. So in reality, just think about this. Whether you do 30,000, 50,000, or 7 months like I did, you might be able, I'm trying to mash two words together, able and capable. You might be able to do the job at 50,000 miles, but nobody's coming out here at 50,000 miles and just hitting the ground running. Maybe a few of them, if they had an excellent trainer, might be able to do that. But really what you're saying, if you're saying that 50,000 is too much, is I just want to learn the bare minimum and I'll figure the rest of it out when I'm on the road by myself. And you know, Prime is typically a 30,000 mile company as far as training goes. So a lot of people have been able to do that and work it out on their own and become successful drivers. I'm just saying the more time you put up front, the easier the time is on the back end. So a lot of those struggles, and some people actually post some of their struggles on Facebook, which, you know, I don't know about that one, but the difference between 30,000 and 50,000 miles is less struggle when you get out there on your own. Like I said, I can understand why people are upset, and that's another reason why I haven't thrown my hat in the ring yet. You know, I kind of got that bug to train again a little bit when I ran into my very last student, Juwan, at the Springfield terminal a while back, and he kind of made me realize why I trained my first student to begin with, and that was to give back. I initially went into this to just train one student to pay back the industry for the trainer that trained me, and I was going to be done with that. And this really doesn't have anything to do with the 50,000 miles, but one thing I can tell you with every single one of my people that have been on my truck is I've learned inside and outside of the trucking industry, and I've become a better driver by actually training somebody. So those are reasons why I'm kind of even toying with it in my head. But you know, if you've come to Prime since knowing that it's been 50,000 miles, you know, just hope for a good trainer and put your head down, one step forward. It'll be over with before you know it. And I mean, even if you were to say that, let's even just say if a trucking career was 10 years, 2.5 weeks or months out of 10 years, that's really nothing in the scheme of that period of time. So enough about that. I guess that's about all I gotta say. I need to get back here in the back because this sun is beaming in here. I appreciate you stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.